Hey guys, welcome back to the Final Whistle podcast. It's been a hot minute. We're in game week 31. Lots of upset, lots of drama, a relegation as well. And joining me to discuss all things Premier League is the awesome Ben Pescod. I have missed you. Where have you been?
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks, hasn't it? Obviously, international break and then the FA Cup. It felt like much longer than 2 weeks, but yeah, it's been an interesting weekend, hasn't it? I think today's kind of put a bit of a dampener on things, but we can't complain too much.
We can't. And last time you and I spoke, I think we covered the Premier League and Liverpool kind of clunked out of the Carabao Cup in a some
Oh yeah,
dramatic. But yeah, I think that was the last time you and I spoke. They did win the Merseyside derby, but today, let's talk about today. You put a tweet out, and if you live under a rock, it finished Fulham 3, Liverpool 2, Liverpool goal ahead, and you think, yes, embarking on what Arsenal did, even though there is a healthy point gap. But the first half, I mean, just talk to me about that, because I just felt like defensively they switched off, and you put a tweet out saying, soon as Liverpool go a goal ahead, pretty much put their flip-flops on. You're insinuating they
yeah,
were on volleys, basically. So, yeah, I mean, the first half was just horrendous, right?
yeah. It was so bad, and usually at this point of the season, going 1-0 up against a team that's not really playing for much, it should be plain sailing from there. I mean, it's a brilliant goal from McAllister. And in fairness, it was the defense. I almost felt like I was in a time machine going back to like the 2022-23 season. You know, when like Gomez was like twerking at Brighton. Yeah, that's the levels it was today. It was pretty pitiful. I thought setting half we were all right, but once you're that far behind, you're always leaving yourself a lot to do. I don't know. Hindsight's a brilliant thing, but I mean, I wouldn't have started Jones at right back again. I would have probably went with Kwanzaa, but it's one of those things. We're still 11 points clear, so if you're gonna mess up, now's the time to do it. But we've got 3 decent games coming up.
Yeah, we do. And you know what? I'm kind of what kind of really frustrated me about the first half and that the defensive display is I feel like the defense pretty much I don't know, got made mugs out of. You know, the way, like, even
Mm-hmm.
Virgil van Dijk as well, you still cannot. Everyone was having a wobble, and a lot of people are coming down on Jones. And, let's not forget Robertson for the third goal, I think it was as well. And his, I'm going to say, a great involvement in that goal because he was in it in 3 different phases. But, I mean, you could even
Yeah,
argue one goal, but, because it hit him. It was just horrendous. I don't know, Ben. Is it tired? Is it fatigue? I'm also going to make a shout as well. I don't know what it is about this team, but I feel like they've been a little bit overplayed. I think there's a lot of screams on social media like, come on, Chiesa did so well against Newcastle. What has he got to do to get a shout? I mean, these guys look really tired. I mean, Morsela was anonymous in this game for in my humble opinion. Nothing was quite right. I think the only one that looked decent on the field was probably McAllister. I'm just going to be brutally honest.
yeah. I don't think it's fatigue. I mean, some of them players had a couple of weeks off. I know some obviously played through the international break, but they didn't play in the FA Cup last week, and um, I don't know. I thought Gravenberch didn't look that tired today. I just think he was a bit sloppy. I don't think his performance was down to fatigue, which we've been saying in past weeks.
Okay,
And
do you think?
fatigue doesn't cause you to make the errors that we're making.
Yeah, do you think
What's that, sorry?
complacency? Sorry, I was just going to say, do you think it's complacency then? Like, yeah, we're in a healthy, like almost like you said, the flip flops are, on, and that we're cruising this.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say no, but in if Arsenal were 2 points behind us, do we switch off like that? Like, there's no chance. I mean, fatigue doesn't cause Robertson to not be able to switch a ball and skew it 20 yards the wrong way. That's not fatigue. That's just. And I saw Robertson doing an interview during the international break about being made a scapegoat. He's just been poor, and I think the sooner he realizes that, the better. To be honest, nobody's trying to scapegoat him. He just has been poor, and today was kind of the worst I've seen in a while from him.
Yeah, it's almost like, you've been a great servant for Liverpool, but you can just see that his legs have like really gone, and
Mm.
obviously that was like a brain fart moment from him as well. Like, at least you'd expect him to be like defensively switched on in terms of positional awareness and play, and yeah, it was a really bad put ball to Jones. I don't, it wasn't even going anywhere near him, so I don't even understand why that would happen. With regards to Fulham, though, I mean, you and I have spoke about them a fair bit, so we knew what they were going to be all about. Also, Liverpool should have had the warning signs when they played them at Anfield as well. Like they will press you, and I felt like they gave a
Yeah.
really tough time to our defense. And obviously, they are playing for Europe, and I feel like a lot of people are making a big hoo ha ha about the quality of the Premier League this season being poor. But I feel like everyone can beat anyone, and that is the beauty of this season for me. Like, we're talking about Liverpool losing to Fulham here. Apparently, Liverpool have not lost to Fulham at Craven Cottage in like 14 years. So, you know,
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that, but yeah, I find the only people who are saying that though the ones who are struggling.
yeah.
Yeah. But no, I totally agree. I think the league's really exciting. Like you said, I think the top five today, all top five in the league, all didn't win this weekend. Like, when does that ever happen? I mean, it's just crazy.
Well, I did not know that, so thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very true. It's very true. I mean, any final thoughts on Liverpool? I mean, they are playing West Ham next. They are 11 points ahead. If they weren't this ahead, I think I, as a Liverpool supporter, would be really concerned about the performances because I think they've been far from convincing. I know we beat Everton, but again, it was like second half and Luis Diaz kicking in. I will say though, the subs that Slot made in the second half were pretty decent. Like I felt like they wanted to show up and they actually added something. Bar Nunes, I thought Nunes was probably the only one that looked again a bit sus to me. I think we might have lost Ben there with some connection issues. Are you there, Ben? Issues? Are you there, Ben?
I'm back now. I'm back now. I
It's
heard
so
some of
cool.
it. But yeah, just kind of touching on that, I do think the subs did make a big impact, and I think Slot did get it right. But also, he done this thing in the final where he chucked loads of forwards on, and it did kind of. I think our build-up play actually got worse. I mean, it's not as simple as just chucking forwards on, maybe, but yeah, maybe that's just me. I mean, we had more than enough chances to get something from it, and I think we are really missing Trent, and not just Trent. I think we were missing Bradley. You saw a massive difference when Bradley came on.
Yeah.
I saw a stat. I think we've only created something like 2 point something xg over the past 3 games when Trent hasn't been playing, which is like, yeah, a really scary thought. But
It is, and of course, it makes you more intrigued about what's going to happen in the summer, which looks pretty inevitable, in my opinion. I think, the writing's on the wall with Trent. Right, I think we've discussed Liverpool there. Luckily, they are 11 points clear. They do have some wiggle room. Let's move on to our blue neighbours. Everton holding Arsenal to a draw on Saturday. I was buzzing off this result. I mean, I
yeah,
just
so
today, but 1-1 it finished. I mean, what did you make of this one?
I saw this coming from a mile away. I've been saying it for a few weeks. Arsenal were always going to drop points at Goodison. I think they always struggle there. I'm sure we mentioned this last time. They always seem to drop points there, and especially when Gabriel goes off injuries. I knew they were in for a bit of a tough time. I did think the penalty was harsh on Arsenal, to be fair. The Lewis Skelly challenge on Harrison, which probably looks more like Harrison's fouled him, to be honest. But I'm sure
Can we
Arsenal
just make a
fans.
shout, Ben? Can we just make a shout? I feel like refs really, really side with Everton. Obviously, you know what happened in the
Yeah,
Merseyside derby.
yeah.
And I saw Arsenal fans kicking off about this, and I think they've got a legit case. I think
Mm.
refs really do favour Everton. I mean, we saw it at Goodison Park with with the Merseyside derby as well. Like, it's an absolute joke. So maybe there is something to look at in that.
Yeah, I mean, the Tarkovsky tackle, I know everyone spoke about that, but I can't wrap my head around that still. So yeah, maybe there is something in it. Maybe
Yeah.
all the referees do love Everton.
somebody's got a, somebody's got a, yeah. Yeah, I was really thrilled with this result. I can't lie, and I still am, to be honest with you, because it still worked in our favour. Because obviously, with us dropping points as well, and them us not picking up any points, and of course them only gaining one is a good thing. What should we discuss next, Ben? The West Manchester
We may as
derby.
well get the.
I think we're having some technical
So
issues.
boring. It was No, no, I'm here. It's such a tough watch. It was. I was almost falling asleep watching it. It
The
was so
Manchester
bad.
derby, yeah, it was horrible, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was so bad.
There's nothing more to say about that. I mean, literally, like it felt like two teams were playing for a draw, and it's so sad because De Bruyne's last Manchester derby. Of course, we all know that he's leaving, but you've got Man City here who have really got a point to prove. The fact that
Yeah,
they were champions last season, they probably want Champions League football as well. But that was just awful, and I just felt like both teams weren't coming on. But I will say one thing, Ben. I felt like if a team was more likely to score towards the end, it looked like Man United if there was going to be a winner.
I thought that pretty much for the whole game. To be fair, I think all
Mm,
of Man City's efforts were from range or off the top of my head anyway, or kind of like scuff shots straight at Onana.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think if Man United had a clinical forward, or I mean, Garnacho's completely went off the boil. I mean, that header in the first half where he somehow heads it into his knee. It's hard to miss and score, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting because imagine Man City don't get Champions League football. That would be bizarre. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago where we were getting labelled as the worst defending champions, and I'm not saying they're that because I remember Chelsea coming, I think it was like 10th or 11th after winning the title, but they've been so poor this season. And I mean, I'm looking here, only 17 goal difference plus 17 over 31 games from Man City. That's just bizarre.
Yeah, they just don't look like themselves, and yeah, it was a really, really. I mean, like this. I think was it Roy Keane? Yeah, it was Roy Keane. I think he called it the friendly derby, meaning there's no bite to it, there's no grit to it, and
Yeah,
like yeah, it just seemed too nicey nice, and I think fans from both clubs would want a bit more about it, and it's also very interesting as well because obviously both teams are not in like Man United used to be the top of their game when it used to happen, and then it was Man City were like the dominant side in the Premier League, and both of them are having a bit of a terrible season. If you had to call one for having the worst season, Ben, here's my question for you because let's make it exciting. Who's had the worst season?
oh, it's got to be United. I know
Has
kind of
it?
expectations, and I get that, but I mean to be 13th in the league and only 6 points off 17th, it's pretty disastrous. And I think there's only 4 or 5 teams scored less goals than them.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be United, but Man City have been pretty disastrous as well.
I don't know. I think, United have been really dreadful all season, and I guess like you're kind of used to it. But it'd be very interesting to see the psyche of like Man City supporters, and them
Yeah,
constantly winning, and like them just they won 4 in a row, and like they might not even get Champions League football, like you said. I mean, I think if I'm a United fan, I'm basically in the mindset of what Liverpool supporters were. Like we're constantly poor, still poor, always poor. Yeah, we've got a new manager, maybe new hope. Like how we were as Liverpool supporters, new
yeah,
hope season. As for Man City, it's like, oh my God, like Pep Guardiola signed a new contract. Our players look old. Yeah, they've got the money and they can inject it into it. And I don't think financial fair play even touches them. Let's be brutally honest. But
yeah,
you're watching that football and you're like, everyone's beating us, and that must be a bitter pill to swallow, in my
yeah.
opinion.
Well, they spent 200 million in January and they've done nothing as well. So it will be interesting to see what they do in the summer. I mean, Marmoush is a good signing and he is already coming good, and I think he'll be even better next season. But I will go out there and say I don't think Man City will win the league next season. I don't think they'll be as bad as this season. No, I mean it'll be pretty hard for them to do that, but I do think it'll be between us and Arsenal to win the league next season.
Oh, there you go. Well, perfect on point because we had a comment here from Graham Rogers saying, "Think about this: had we lost to Everton and Arsenal beaten Everton, which could have happened, we would only be 6 points ahead. That's how quick things can change. I mean, yeah, it's true, but thank God that did not
Yeah,
happen. That's all we'll still say." And he
yeah,
then followed the comment saying, "We'll still win the league." Yeah.
yeah. And just on that as well, I mean, even if they'd beat Everton yesterday, it would be down to 9 points, and I think even that kind of shifts the mentality a little bit. But
Mm.
Liverpool will be fine. I don't want to see this whole meltdown that Liverpool aren't going to win the league now, just because we've lost our second league game of the season.
I know this is how like privileged we've been. Like this is our
Yeah.
second loss and the first away loss. Got one here from Daz Reynolds, and he's asking, as a Reds fan myself, do you think Darwin starts against West Ham? What do you think, Ben? I don't think he does.
I don't think he does, and it's not necessarily anything against Nunes either. I just think Slot's so set in his ways. I mean, I think at the minute you're looking at Diaz or Gakpo on the left, and maybe Diaz down the middle instead of Jota. And other than that, I can't really think of anything else he's going to change. I think it is going to catch up on us in this past few weeks. I mean, we'll win the league and we'll get the wins needed, but it wouldn't surprise me if we're a bit off the boil between now and the end of the season, because I do think these players are just starting to hit that brick wall. But I don't think he's going to change now.
I know in a dream scenario, I want this league title wrapped up as quick as possible so we can start giving some fringe players some game time and rest some of our players, because obviously with the
Yeah.
pre-season and everything, that would be the dream scenario. I mean, with regards to the Darwin thing, I'm with you. I don't think he starts him. And you did say about his performance, but I've not been impressed with him. He came on as a sub and he was at my
Oh
distant
no.
today, and that's what's bothering me. But then when you start him, I don't know if he fizzles that. It all depends on what kind of threat we want to kind of pose to West Ham. I really want to see what Mo Salah's about, because obviously he was imperious against West Ham at Anfield, and it would be great if he could kind of wake up, because I feel like when he wakes up, everyone wakes up. So yeah, I mean, I don't think Scott's going to do it, but maybe
Yeah.
he needs a bit of rotation on that side.
Yeah. Just on Nunes as well, I've started to notice Nunes at Anfield and Nunes away from home are two completely different players. Well, maybe not different players, because I think he struggles regardless. But at least at Anfield, he's with the crowd, and his passion comes through, and he's geeing up the crowd. But when he's away from home, he's just like a bit of a shadow. I mean, today he was pretty pointless. He was the one sub, I think, that came on and was pretty pointless, to be honest.
Yeah. All right, then. Right, we're going to move on from Everton and Arsenal and Liverpool just in general. Can we talk about the team that got relegated? Spurs 3, Southampton 1. I think this was inevitable. Spurs getting a win as well, which is always a good thing, because they are lurking ever so close to the bottom. Obviously, we don't think they're going to get relegated. Southampton have gone down. It was just a matter of time. Do you want to know their XG for this game?
Considering the score, I dread to think.
It's pretty decent for them. It's 1.04. They had
Wow.
12 shots, 4 on target.
Wow. They broke the one threshold, which they haven't done very often. So
No, they haven't. I don't
give them
think they
credit
have
for
as well. So, in your opinion, do you think it is the 3 that came up that will go down? Because, of course,
that.
Ipswich
Yeah,
lost to Wolves. Yeah.
yeah. Well, when Ipswich were winning 1-0, I thought that kind of made it at least a little bit interesting if they can hold on, because that would have been 6 points, I think the gap would have been.
Hmm.
But then Wolves completely flip it around, and yeah, I mean, the bottom three is done and dusted now. Obviously, we've got Leicester in 2 weeks after the West Ham game, so hopefully we can put the final nail in the coffin for them. But I think this Southampton team's the worst team I've seen. I wasn't old enough to remember the Derby team,
I was. They were
so
dreadful.
yeah, this Southampton team for me is by far the worst team I've ever seen in the league. Yeah.
No, I just remember being absolutely dreadful. I think their highlight was I remember we absolutely tonked them. I thought they were pretty dreadful. I always found like Sheffield United always being quite poor as well.
They were
But yeah,
rubbish. Last time they got relegated, not like back
yeah,
then, but even the last time. Obviously, they'll be back up by the looks of things next season. So I think we're kind of getting into that cycle where the three teams that do come up in the championship is getting bigger and bigger.
yeah, it's true. And I remember Fulham had this phase as well. Do you remember when Fulham would always get promoted to get relegated? And now, obviously, now they're fighting for Europe. So fair play to them. Shall we move on to another game, Ben? What do you want to cover next? Oh, it looks like we've lost Ben for now. Let's read some of these comments. Yuri Slot is the epitome of being stubborn with his selection. I guess so. I mean, I think it's probably because he's not had a transfer window as well, and he's just going with what he knows, and maybe he has trust issues, and maybe because they're not his players, he might be thinking, well, I actually I don't like them. I don't really see them as the long term future, and so rather than like relying on them, I'd rather focus on the ones I have. I get what you're saying. I don't think it's a wrong thing to say. I wish he would use more of his players, certainly in different aspects, like when you're playing like the smaller teams. Like I would love to see an Endo start. Like I feel like sometimes going gung ho in every game might not be the approach, just like his tactics aren't always gung ho. So that's my thought. I mean, Ben, I'll come to you.
I don't like you say. I do get it is frustrating seeing the same players over and over again, especially when it's not going well. I mean, I thought Harvey Elliott done well when he came on today. Obviously, hits a crossbar, doesn't he? Almost scores. Yeah, I get both sides because obviously, like you say, these players aren't his players, but I mean, they're still very good players. I mean, Klopp wasn't using them for no reason.
Yeah.
But he's got us into this position, so it's hard to kind of argue with him.
Yeah, I agree. And I am with you as well, guys, because I think he should be playing those players because I hate the fact that Endo's not being used as much. I really like Endo; he's a cult hero, man. But that's just a little side note. With regards to Liverpool and the Premier League, let me think. What's the next comment? Yeah, I think people would agree with you on that one. I think Southampton. I think it's going to be like a bit of a revolving
Yeah,
door with teams. I think I spoke to you, Ben, before you cut off that Fulham were that team, bouncing in, bouncing out, and now they've kind of established themselves. I think Leeds, when they come back, I
yeah.
think they might be a bit more of a finished article for the Premier League, in my opinion.
Well,
Ben,
they're
go on.
crumbling again now. Actually, Leeds. They looked
Are
nailed on to
they?
be coming up. Yeah, it's that time of year again where Leeds are just. I think they only drew with Luton yesterday. I think they're out with the automatic spots now, so they
Oh
might not
gosh.
even end up coming up again, which is just mental to think because they're by far the best team in the league. But it just hits this time of the season every year for them, and they're just yeah. But I do think out of all of them, if they were to come up, they're the most likely to spend the money and establish themselves.
Yeah. You know what? They seem to be on the same levels with us because I think we tend to crumble at this time as well. It happened
Yeah.
last season as well. So, maybe there's a bit of a commonality there. Ben, any other game you kind of want to discuss, or should we just go through the results and just move on? Because I've not enjoyed this game week. Can't lie.
Yeah, it's like today was so well. I mean, neutrals probably loved the Liverpool game, but like Brentford Chelsea, I had that nailed on for a fair few goals, and that was 0-0.
Mm.
Um, I guess I mean Newcastle play tomorrow, don't they? That'll be a interesting game. I expect them to beat Newcastle Leicester comfortably. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think that will put them above Man City. I could be wrong, but yeah. So that'll be an interesting one.
Yeah. Crystal Palace beat Brighton in that derby. They've done the double on them this season. So yeah, derby. Yeah, we did that last time. Ipswich won, Wolves 2. I think Wolves are safe there. West Ham 2, Bournemouth 2. I'm so upset with Bournemouth because they were my Champions League team. I'm not gonna lie.
But I saw there's this guy on TikTok who does like all these simulations and works out the probability of all these. He's
Yeah.
been doing one for Liverpool winning the league, and I think the probability is like 99.93% that we win the league now. And
Okay.
Bournemouth at one point were 97% like probable to finish in a European spot, and now I think it's something like 10%.
Oh.
Looking at the recent games, I don't think they've won in about 8 or 9 games, or maybe one. They won on penalties in the FA Cup, but since then they haven't won since they beat Southampton in mid-February.
Mm. Wow, I know I don't like, and I really enjoy watching Bournemouth as well. I guess the last one we can talk about maybe is the team that looked like they were going to get Champions League football, and that is, of course, Nottingham Forest losing to Aston Villa 2-1, and a great result for Aston Villa actually, because of course they will be playing Champions League football PSG, so that's a good one. But Ben, any final takeaways from game week?
This really, just stay calm about it, and we'll get it done. I mean, West Ham I think will beat next week, beat Leicester the week after, and then it's one more win needed from the last. I think it'll be 5 games at that point. We'll be absolutely fine.
I'm loving the confidence. Ben, thank you so much for joining me. Before I let you go, where can people find you on social media? You're a busy bee. Content, throw it at us.
Yeah, so Ben Pescod Journal on Twitter is where you'll find all my work. And yeah, all my work will be on there.
Yeah, can you just repeat that? We had some tech issues. Ben Pescod.
Yeah, Ben Pescod Journal on Twitter is where you'll find all my work. Any sort of interviews or articles or even podcasts, they're all on there.
Amazing, guys. So do check that out. We will be back next week, hopefully discussing 3 points. But till next time, take care and we'll catch you soon. Thank you so much for watching and listening.